All right, so Penny, let me tell you a story.
Okay.
All right.
Wait. Do I look at the camera or do I look at you?
Yeah, they're prettier than I am. Look at the camera.
Okay.
I'm going to be looking at her mostly, folks, because damn. Okay, I'm going to tell a story. So, in another lifetime ago, I'm a teenager, and I'm talking on the phone with a friend of mine. And that's what we used to do back then. We talk on the phone. We didn't text. And I had done something, I don't know what, the day before at a party or with friends. And at the time, I thought I was so clever. I thought I was so smart, right? But here it is the next day, and I'm on the phone with my friend, and I feel like an idiot. You know that feeling where you just want to crawl under a rock and you never want to be seen again?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm lamenting with my friend that this is really awkward. And my friend, of course, has gone through it too. So we're commiserating. And I said, you know what? I figure that kind of nonsense, it ends by the time you're 30. Because by 30, you have your act together, right? Well, I did not realize it, but my father just then walked through the room, and he must have heard me, because he walked right through the room and without pausing just said, nope, and walked on out. And I was really struck by two things, right? The first thing was, here this man who I admire as my father, I look up to, even he is still going through that crap, right?
And you figured this out. How old were you?
I'm like 14, 15.
Oh, wow.
All right. So that really struck me, that this paragon of togetherness still went through it. And the other thing that struck me was, well, shoot. Because I don't want to go through this anymore. I like to think that at a certain point, I'm going to figure it all out and stop being uncomfortable in my own skin.
Well, and that's what we're going to talk today about, is whether or not we're ever comfortable in our own skin. Being well over 30 myself, I can tell you that feeling of being uncomfortable is constant.
When was the last time you felt uncomfortable?
Oh, right now. To be honest, I mean, this is not something I do all the time. It's something that I'm learning. It's something that's new. And whenever you're doing something that you haven't done before, you're going to feel uncomfortable with that.
So is it that you've never done it before, therefore you get uncomfortable? Or do we sometimes get uncomfortable even if it's old hat?
Yes, we can be uncomfortable even if it's old hat. You know, you talked about how you learned from your father's story. I didn't learn that comfort was not to be expected until much later. But when I joined Intel, I was in my late 20s, and one of the founders, Andy Grove, had a famous saying that said, "Only the paranoid survive." Right. And being paranoid is the opposite of feeling comfortable and complacent.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And so they kind of drilled that into their people, in that we were required to read Who Moved My Cheese, which is a book, a fable about change, to help us get accustomed to the idea that change is constant. Therefore, being uncomfortable is normal. And if you're feeling comfortable, that's a sign that you're not looking out. You're not surveying the environment. You're not seeing the changes that are coming, because change is constant.
So we're talking about all this with our students and whomever else is listening, right? Because I think, like me, I think a lot of our students kind of figure, you know what, as soon as I graduate and as soon as I get my career going, I can then start to feel comfortable and accomplished. Is it wrong to want to have that level of comfort? If only the paranoid survive, is it wrong that we should want to learn to be comfortable in our skin?
That's a very interesting question, because there's two sides of that coin. right? Because if you're comfortable in your skin, you may not be growing. And if you're not growing, you're stagnating. And then as the environment changes, you'll be less prepared to sustain your level of comfortness, making you more uncomfortable. At the same time, that's not the same as saying I'm uncomfortable in my own skin, because you can be comfortable with who you are. You know, Brene Brown always says integrity is choosing courage over comfort, right? So you can be comfortable in what your core values are and who you are as a person and who you are in your own skin, and yet not be comfortable physically, emotionally, spiritually, because you're still searching and growing and learning and being prepared for the change that is constant in our environment.
You make me think of two things. One is there was at a convocation. Was it a convocation? It was a commencement. One of those C words. So there was a commencement address a few years back at Salt Lake Community College, where the person who was giving the talk, I forget her name, but she said at the end, get comfortable being uncomfortable. And so I think that kind of speaks a little bit to what you said. You can be comfortable in your own skin. And as Brene Brown says, integrity is choosing courage over comfort. And I think you also touched on something else with this ever-changing environment. When we hear of survival of the fittest, right? A lot of people have in their mind that survival of the fittest means most physically fit. Mm-hmm. Ooh, I'm strong, I'm fast, I have sharp claws, and so on and so forth. That's not what it means. It means, are you adapting to your ever-changing environment?
And is that adaptation comfortable?
It is probably never comfortable.
Probably not, right?
Right? I mean, I think a lot of us, if given the choice between living the status quo versus going through discomfort to adapt to a changing environment, would say, well, the status quo kind of rocks.
Until we get bored with it.
Until you get bored with it, right?
Which is not comfortable either.
So... you can't win.
So discomfort is the normal state. Water is wet. That is the normal state.
That is the normal state. And that is the environmental constant.
The environmental constant. And so as soon as you can accept, like the commencement speaker said, that being uncomfortable is what you should expect versus the opposite, you won't be disappointed. And the irony here is the more you can expect to be uncomfortable, the more comfortable you can become.
So getting comfortable. Oh my gosh. Okay. You just helped me make a connection, right? So we love in this particular country and in Western countries, I think we love to idolize the entrepreneur. Right. Mm-hmm. So we look at the Steve Jobs and we look at the Elon Musks and we look at the Jeff Bezos, we all these entrepreneurs, and we kind of set them on pedestals and so forth. They are never comfortable, ever. And they are probably in their highest level of comfort when they are in their highest level of discomfort.
Yeah. And we're talking physical, or not physical comfort, like high thread count sheets, because I'm sure that Elon Musk has much better sheets and cars and whatever.
Egyptian cotton.
I mean, there's tons of gizmos you can buy to make you physically more comfortable, but we're talking more psychologically comfortable.
Yeah. It's that profit motive idea that it's never enough. You want to always move forward, and those who are able to embrace that discomfort can be successful there.
Yes. So entrepreneurs are supposedly paid more or earn more because they take on more risk, right? That is their value. And so that's one level of discomfort is risk. But there's risk in all parts of life that aren't business.
Yeah.
There's risk in relationships. Talk about areas of being uncomfortable, right?
Right.
And in my experience, the more comfortable you are in a relationship, the less that you're paying attention to the other person.
I really like that. I remember, so I've been happily married 33 years now, right? Wonderful wife. All of you who have seen my videos, you know Susan. But there's been moments in my relationship that I've thought, you know what? We have about as much regard for each other as a comfortable piece of furniture.
Mm.
You know, it's a couch. It's comfortable. It's familiar. You enjoy it every day, and it allows you to kind of, relax. But your spouse is not a couch, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so investing in that relationship and making sure that you're more to each other than just simply something that's convenient and comfortable and known. Habitual, very good, habitual, requires vulnerability, requires risk, requires discomfort.
It does.
Huh.
It does. And it's not just intimate relationships, children, parents, co-workers, whoever you're in relationship with is a dynamic human that's also going through lots of evolution and growth in their own life. So every time you interact with somebody, they are slightly different than the person they were the last time you interacted with them. And if you're comfortable with them, that means that you are assuming everything that their past is now who they currently are, regardless of what they're focusing on to grow in the future.
How can we learn to be more comfortable with discomfort?
I think it's all about setting expectations.
So tell me more. What do you mean by that?
I think if you expect to be comfortable, then you're disappointed or angry when you're not comfortable. And you seek to establish a comfortable state because you assume that comfort is normal and discomfort is abnormal. But if you flip the script and you say, I expect to be uncomfortable, and being uncomfortable is a sign of growth and is a sign of risk, right? These are good things, and you reframe it in that way. Then when you're feeling a moment of comfort, maybe you can enjoy the respite for a minute, but you don't hang out there. Because then you're not setting yourself up for being able to adapt to whatever change is coming next.
This is good. So I heard three things. I heard that, first of all, switch the flip. Instead of saying...
Flip the switch.
You haven't seen Red. So, or if you've seen Mystery Men, flip it. All right. Anyway, so I heard switch it. Instead of saying your status quo should be comfort, and once in a while you'll have to deal with discomfort.
Right.
Switch that.
Yeah.
Understand that your status quo should be a constant state of a heightened set of anxiety or discomfort. And that brings me to the second point, because growth should be the goal.
Right.
Growth, continuous improvement, progression.
Strength.
You
just think of, when you're working out to be healthier, more fit, it makes you uncomfortable. You have sore muscles, it hurts to put a barbell, whatever,
But it's going to be better.
It's going to make you better.
And the third thing I heard is, and going back to strength training for a moment, yes, it's okay to rest.
Yes.
One of the things they talk about with training and so forth is you need to let the body rest.
Yeah.
One thing that I struggle to teach myself is you don't have to be constantly productive.
Yeah.
I like productivity. I like doing things. I like moving forward. And sometimes I feel a great deal of what I feel is unhealthy stress that I'm actually sitting down and reading a book. And it's like, no. It's okay to rest now and then and just, as you say, take a respite and say, all right, we're on the right track, assess and so forth.
And then imagine being grateful for being comfortable and realizing it and really being present for that. You get a lot more out of those moments of comfort.
Yes. Yes.
Understanding that that's temporary and it's a rest from what's normal.
Let me offer a fourth.
Okay, good.
In what we can do to train ourselves to be comfortable with discomfort. Learn to love the rewards and the Okay, two things. The process and the rewards. Okay, so the process first. one thing I've struggled with is we often say, I'll be happy when.
Mm-hmm. I'll be comfortable when.
I'll be comfortable when, right? When I do my videos, when I do my podcasts, when I do everything, I find that I get more joy if I enjoy the actual process and the learning process and the growth process instead of just the end product, right? So enjoy the process. This is something that I want to learn when it comes to working on my MG midget because I'm terrified of that thing, right?
And it haunts you.
And it haunts me. And I used to say, I will be happy when I can drive it around the Alpine Loop. And I want to train myself to say, I'm happy anytime I'm working on it.
Yep.
So that's the first thing. And the second thing is, I think, to enjoy the rewards of discomfort, which is the additional strength, right? The growth that we enjoy, the progression, the improvement.
The resilience, the adaptability.
The resilience, the adaptability, the grit. And these are all life skills that can be applied just about anywhere.
Yeah.
What's something that you went through that you can look back on and say, at the time that was really uncomfortable, but as I look at it now, that was like the best roller coaster ride and I loved it?
The first thing that jumps to my mind is having to present.
Oh, yeah.
When I was terrified of that in college, but you kind of have that safe zone to practice it. My first job out of college, I had to do some training seminars, terrified, went to Intel, and you have to present all the time, right? And some really scary situations in a very highly critical environment. But it got to the point where it was so exciting to me because of the adrenaline boost that now I look forward to that. And it's part of the fuel of my life. And I think part of the reason why I really enjoy teaching is to stand up there and facilitate a conversation and present information. And it's just so, I still get the adrenaline boost. So I still get the level of, oh my gosh, I've got to do this. And I get the feeling uncomfortable, but I've come to really enjoy that.
And just so you guys know, I know for a fact, because I've seen it countless, and I mean countless times, you come out of those things more energized after than before.
Completely.
And that has always astounded me. So what you're saying is, even though you're going in uncomfortable and nervous and so forth, you still come out of it more energized than ever.
Yes. Yep. And because I think, to your point, I have recognized the rewards of the being uncomfortable. And I enjoy the reward of that uncomfortableness.
They enjoy the reward of the uncomfortableness.
Yeah.
Huh. That's great. That's great.
So how about you?
For me, so there's a lot of hobbies that we do that are in seclusion, right? So eventually when I work on that MG midget, we will be talking about this for decades to come.
We've known each other for at least 2 decades, and he's talked about it the entire time.
The whole 2 decades. That is something done in seclusion. Or when I did triathlon and so forth, Ironman is done in seclusion.
There's a lot of discomfort with that.
There's a lot of discomfort, but nobody's watching, right? On the other hand, going off and doing some corporate training or doing YouTube videos or podcasts, our learning is happening in full display in real time.
Yeah.
That's uncomfortable.
Which is what I said when we started. I was uncomfortable. You said, when was the last time I was uncomfortable? I said, right now.
But this is what I enjoy from it. I am learning to let go of my ego.
Oh.
I am enjoying that. I am enjoying the idea that I can just throw spaghetti on the wall for all the world to see or not see. And it's okay, right? It's okay if it's not perfect. My best video in terms of viewership was made 5 years ago, and it's garbage. Oh my gosh,
I've seen your videos. It's not garbage.
Oh my, well, compare, right? and there's a part of me that says it's a real shame that my best video is that one, right? But on the other hand, I really enjoy not caring. And when you stop, and maybe this is especially the case for guys with ego, right?
Everybody has ego.
Everybody has ego. When you stop caring and just let go of your pride and let go of your ego, it is liberating. Ego trammels us. It confines us to working inside of a safe space that so long as I'm in here, I won't disappoint, right?
That comfort zone.
That comfort zone, safe space. We call that a comfort zone. It's the title of the whatever. That comfort zone. Ego keeps us in there because we know we can perform in there. But when we let go of it and come out here, the world is a fascinating, interesting place. And we learn and experiment and try new things. And I love it. I love that. So,
and I think that's something that we maybe more generically, everybody, learn as we age.
Yes.
Whereas if I had known that at the beginning of my career, and if I had believed that and lived that, think how much more fun we could have had on the journey. Not being so concerned about being in that comfort zone and feeding our egos and status and all the things that in the end don't matter.
That don't matter. Penny and I, with some other friends, are reading Tuesdays with Maury. And in a chapter that we discussed today, it was all about him saying, I have no problem with aging, right? I'm fine with aging. I have no problem with aging as well. I just kicked a dog. Except one thing.
He didn't mean me.
No, little puppy right there. There is one thing that I often think about, though. If I'd only known then what I know now.
Yeah. Which is the whole point of this podcast.
That's the whole point of this podcast. If I had only known then what I know now. So, yeah, we're trying to share what we know now that we wish we had known then. What is the next uncomfortable thing you're going to go do?
What is the next? Oh, here you are putting me on the spot.
Well, while you're thinking about that, I'll tell you what the next uncomfortable thing I'm going to do is. So my wife and I, we are remodeling our kitchen. Now, there's been a lot of parts of this, and it went all the way down to stud. I mean, we're talking electrical, plumbing, everything. There are a lot of things that we did ourselves, and there are a lot of things that we hired out. But one thing we're going to do ourselves, we have no business doing, is we're going to put in the cabinets ourselves. And I've heard tell from many a reliable source that that's tricky, right? And so I'm really nervous. And it's really easy for me to say, I'll just write a check. I'll just find somebody and write a check. You can avoid a lot of discomfort by writing a check, right? But no, this one we're going to do because frankly, we've run out of checks. Kitchen remodels are expensive. We've run out of checks, so we've got to do it. But I'm looking forward.
What's the discomfort in that? Is it the physical discomfort, like the lifting the cabinets, and is it the stress of getting them level?
It's the stress of I'll tell you exactly what it is. It's the stress of getting them level because they've got to be perfectly level. They've got to be installed right. It's the stress of making sure everything's square, so the cabinets work right, the drawers work right, and everything. But it's the stress of having my father come back and visit, who was a contractor, and having him look at it.
That to me sounds like ego. Just talked about the virtues of letting go of your ego and getting out of your comfort zone.
I do think there is a certain amount of, I want to demonstrate to him that I'm not a completely incompetent male specimen, right? Because, you know, they were supposed to know how to use hammers and wrenches and so on and so forth. And that's never been my wheelhouse at all. Mm-hmm. I've never even been in a wheelhouse. And so yes, there is a certain amount of, I want to step outside of this so that I don't want to say show off, but I can enjoy discussing it with him in a way that he can say, I'm discussing it with a peer.
Mm.
This is really aspirational, but I'm discussing it with somebody who's been there rather than talking down to a child saying, well, now you got to think of this and you got to think of this and you got to think of this. So yeah, I'm 55. Am I 55? I'm in my 50s. I forget exactly, but I'm in my 50s and I want to connect with my father in that way. And that's pretty uncomfortable for me.
That is a great way to focus on the reward of the discomfort.
Yes.
You're doing that to have a way to connect with your father. That's beautiful. That seems a lot. That's great.
Yeah, and he's going to be watching this. And it'll be awkward conversations. It'll be some more discomfort. Okay, what about you? What have you got planned?
So all the things that come to my mind that have to do with discomfort are relationship based.
Mm.
What conversations do I need to have the courage to have with people that I'm close to? I mean, from why aren't you vaccinated?
Mm-hmm.
That's a very uncomfortable conversation, right? Which makes me worried about this person that I love, that's close to me, that is following misinformation, and continuing to be respectful and loving and empathetic, and just so wanting them to see beyond their very narrow view of what information can be trusted. And that's a very uncomfortable conversation.
Very, very.
It's one of many, right? So as somebody who has had a full career in corporate communications, it's interesting to me to think that my most challenging and courageous moments are personal communications.
Isn't that something?
You'd think that it wouldn't be the case, but it is. So
I'm so glad I'm installing cabinets. I'd take that any
so
day over that.
Right.
Any day. That's tremendous. Our closing thoughts, the closing thought I would offer up is get comfortable being uncomfortable. Allow yourself to continue to grow, continue to progress. Embrace the discomfort and let go of that idea that as soon as I graduate, as soon as I get a job, as soon as I move out, as soon as I get a partner and so on. No. It's going to happen all the time. Learn to love it and embrace it and use it as a superpower.
Oh, I like that. Use it as a superpower. And so to add on to that is wake up every day expecting to be uncomfortable, so that when you're comfortable, it's like, oh, wow, this is a nice change. So if you flip the script.
Flip the script. I like it.
Well, we forgot. We end every episode with a new word that those
my turn.
Kids these days say that we don't get.
You kids these days. Okay, so it's my turn. Penny did it last time. So mine. So I'm in social media. I'm in Instagram and TikTok and so forth. And I have a former student out there who's been really setting some awesome goals. He's been moving forward on his goals, been doing just fantastic work. And he's reading a book. And so I saw the book and I saw the quote that he highlighted in one of his reels. And I wrote in there, hey, that looks like a really awesome book. I'll have to read it. And he wrote back, yeah, I see you peeping.
Peeping? Isn't that a legal line?
I know, right? I felt really uncomfortable because to me, peeping is like a peeping Tom.
Right.
Or
it definitely has a negative connotation.
It has a negative connotation, and it's not something you want to be accused of doing. Right? You don't want to be accused of being a peeper. So I got on Google and looked it up, Urban Dictionary, all that sort of stuff. And it's totally innocuous. It just says, oh, if you've been following somebody on social media and liking what they post and commenting now and again, you're peeping. And I'm like, okay, I'm still not comfortable saying I'm a peeper.
Well, peeping is missing a G, which makes it a lot more playful than peeping.
Yeah, probably so. That's right. It's all in the G,
It's
right?
all in the G.
So
we're hoping there's lots of people peeping on us. Right? Is that a good use of that word?
I think so, but it still sounds so wrong.
It does. Makes me feel uncomfortable.
That's right.
Embrace the discomfort, Lon.
Thank you so much for joining us. This was fun.
This was fun for us. Hopefully it was for you. See you next time.
We'll see you next time. Have a fantastic day.